Hello, explorers, and welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For more than 25 years, Reach the World has sparked student curiosity, bringing real-world adventure, fresh perspectives, and career pathways into K-12 classrooms through virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and today is the start of a new virtual exchange adventure that, quite honestly, I've been looking forward to for a very, very long time. In just a few minutes, we'll connect live with wildlife photographer and National Geographic Explorer George McKenzie Jr., who is joining us for the next few weeks to tell us all about his work in the amazing North Everglades of Florida. As we dive into this experience with George, don't miss his latest virtual exchange articles published weekly to his Reach the World homepage. I've added the direct link in the chat for you today, right there on the right-hand side of your screen. Keep checking back as we progress and take on new topics. George is going to be covering a lot of stuff in the next few weeks. To the classrooms and students who are joining on camera or via YouTube today, welcome. This live stream is for and about you, so please be thinking about your questions for George as we go. If you're feeling brave and want to ask him a question, you'll have that opportunity today, either through the chat on the right-hand side or for anyone who's joining us on camera. I'll bring you right up on camera. And to the K-12 classrooms joining today from Washington, Virginia, New York, Florida, New Hampshire, Illinois, and beyond, welcome. Let's get right to it. Joining us from Florida, as I said, is wildlife photographer and National Geographic Explorer George McKenzie Jr. And let's bring him on to the stage here. Hey, George.
Hey, Tim. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good morning.
We are good. It's Monday morning. It looks like the sun's shining in Florida. I can't say the same about Illinois right now, but looks like a beautiful day where you are.
Yes, it is a wonderful day. I believe it's the low 80s, high 70s, depending on where you stand. In the shade, it's in the in the high 70s. Outside of the shade, it's in the low 80s.
That sounds lovely. That sounds very, very nice. I saw you backstage. You're experimenting with turning your phone to the side. Can you try rotating horizontally one more time? I think it might let us see a little more of where you are.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there we
How's
go.
that work?
Yeah, let's get started today because I have a lot of questions for you. I know our students do too, trying to get to know you and understand what we're about to do together. Can you start by telling us where you are? I gave a place name, but maybe you can give a better description of where in the world you are.
Right now, I'm in the headwaters of the Everglades, and that's because I cannot go into the Everglades and have this experience because I'd like you to imagine, for those of you who are history buffs, or the Everglades is a little smaller than Maryland, and it's bigger than, I believe, Maine. It's a little under 12,000 square feet, 12,000 square nautical miles. And so there's no cell signal, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no reception. So I'm coming to you from the headwaters of the Everglades, and this is basically my backyard. And I am from Brooklyn, New York. I didn't start out being a wildlife photographer. I didn't start out being an enthusiast. I naturally progressed into it as my inquisitiveness and my desire to chase a dream grew. And I got the opportunity back in December of 2021 to work with a fellow Nat Geo explorer and creator of the Path of the Panther and the Florida Wildlife Corridor, Carlton Ward Jr., to take a job and come into the Everglades and be a camera trap tech. So I romanticized it. I sold everything I knew and everything I had, left everything I knew from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, sight unknown, and took the Amtrak down to the headwaters of the Everglade, a small, tiny town called Venus, Florida. And I now live in a place that has 2,500 people, four red lights, and 10 stop signs.
All right. So we have a lot of classmates who are joining us from the greater New York City area today. So your first article, let's back up just a little bit. You gave us a good preview of where we're going. Your first article is called "From Brooklyn to the Backcountry." Take us on your journey in a little bit more detail. How did you first get interested in photography? How did you first sort of like decide that this was a big change that you wanted to make as you were back in the New York City area?
So back in the New York City area, I was shy and I was awkward and I was very much introverted to a certain degree. And I went to a party one night and saw a young lady. And short story short is that I learned that women like photographers and I wanted to meet more women. So I became a photographer. That's how my journey started. So I've done everything from fashion and editorial photography. And one day I met a wildlife photographer working in a camera store called Adorama, and his name was Charlie Hamilton James, and he was a Nat Geo photographer. And I basically bugged him for 2 years to be his assistant, and that's what allowed me to dream this wild dream that I could one day be a wildlife photographer who started in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. And my first interaction with wildlife, I hadn't known it at the time. However, it was photographing pigeons in Brooklyn and throughout the city, pigeons and rats. So that's how I got into it.
Amazing. That's quite a journey from pigeons and rats to being in the environment you're in
I
now,
can't
where I
hear you, Tim. I
imagine
think you're mute.
testing. Can you hear me all right? Testing. Can you hear me now, George?
I still can't hear you.
Testing. Let's keep trying here. Um,
Nope. Still no, still no sound, Tim.
testing.
Can you hear me though? Uh,
Testing. All right.
yeah, I'll be right here. I'm here for a while.
Testing.
There you go. Yeah, you're
Can you hear
back.
me? All right.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
hear me? All right.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Very good. Quick troubleshooting. George, I was just saying, you started off with photographing pigeons and rats in New York City, you mentioned. Everybody's got something living, wild, moving around in terms of something you can photograph wherever you are. But not everybody becomes a National Geographic explorer and a professional photographer as a result of it. What sort of what takes someone from someone who's interested in being a photographer to someone who is like producing the kinds of images you produce? Because I'll bring some up and you can talk about them, because they're more than just a snapshot. They're beautiful images.
For me, one of the things I always encourage young photographers to do is nothing comes over time. For a lot of you who are in school right now, you can go ask your elders, your parents, your older sisters, cousins, uncles, and aunts how many times it took you falling for you to learn how to walk, right? You don't remember it now because you've been walking for so many years. So it's understanding that everything comes with time, and it's how much dedication and consistency you put into the goal you're trying to achieve. So that's what I would suggest to young photographers and for young people. This is something you want to do. I'm the first person to encourage you and to tell you go for it. However, I will tell you that it takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work, and a lot of dedication. If you're true to it, it will be true to you.
All right, and I can't help but think that where you're photographing is part of your inspiration. We got some pictures up on the screen now. I'm not sure if you can see it, but these are
Yes,
George
I
in his
can.
element. Can you, sorry, my
Yes, so this was actually taken in the Everglades. And these were photos while I was working on a film project called The American Southwest. And that should be out at some point later this year. However, this is during the dry season in the Everglades. What you're looking at is me walking through the swamps, and what you're not seeing, because I've learned this since I've moved here, is that I'm O positive, and mosquitoes love the O positive blood type. So what you're not seeing is how many times I'm swatting away the mosquitoes that are enjoying me being out there. So Florida has over 90 different species of mosquitoes. They all love biting me. And as you can see, there's water there, so that means it's filled with mosquitoes.
Well, this gives us a good idea of you and your element, you and your this area of Florida that you are so inspired by, that you capture through your photography. You talked about coming down to Florida to work on a project related to panthers. Can you talk a little bit more about panthers and camera traps?
Yeah, so panthers are the last big cats remaining in the the southeast United, and there are less than 200 left in Florida because they have been hunted, predated on by number one humans, and then human encroachment in their natural habitat. So what you're seeing me where I am in these photos, it's like actually a cypress swamp. So panthers definitely they roam in there, and using camera traps is a way to document any wild animal you it moving in its natural space. So I'll show you guys something. I have
Oh,
this next to me. I'm gonna pick it up. This is a camera trap. And the camera trap is what I usually take into the swamp, and I set it up, and I have my triggers, my lights, and it's often done after I've scouted the area multiple times, and I use a trail camera as part of my scouting to monitor animal movements. So nothing I do is something that's done on a whim, or it's always planned to I work at covering the most minute detail because anything can happen and it can cause me to miss the shot because 90% of the times I'm not there. I'm only there to check my cameras to make sure they're still functioning, make sure the composition is still the right way it's supposed to be, and everything is working accordingly. And then I'll leave for 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, I'll come back, check it again, pull the memory card, refresh the batteries, check the triggers, and make sure everything is functioning accordingly. And for one of my most iconic photos that I've ever been able to make is a young female panther walking in the wild. And that photo took me 844 days and 23 hours and about 26 minutes to make. So, leading back to what I said earlier in the conversation about staying true to it and being consistent, how many people are willing to commit that time and that energy to doing a process that you're failing 98% of the times, and that 2% chance is what you live for. So for all you young students in school right now, I would be remiss if I didn't help all your teachers out and tell you to stick with it. Lock in, be focused. You're only there for a small fraction of time in your life. I know it seems like forever. However, one day you're going to graduate. So be present where you are, lock in on your goals that you want to achieve, and dream really big so that you can live whatever life you choose to live.
It's wonderful advice. I want to invite for our classrooms who are watching live right now, if you have questions that you would like to ask for George, please drop them in the chat. I'd be happy to pass them along. Certainly want to get your voices in this conversation. George, you mentioned 800 plus hours for a photograph. That's amazing. And you work really hard to get these photos. Why is it important to spend 800 hours capturing a photo of a panther in the Everglades? Like what can you say about the power of a photograph like that?
So the best way for me to say it, and for me, the most simplest form is to say, if you are back in your history class, you'll see the first set of humans on the face of this earth, they didn't write things, they drew things. They drew pictures because pictures resonate with us as humans on such a deep level. It's the reason that all of your cell phones have cameras, and this is a picture can tell 1,000 words. And to see a wild animal in its natural environment doing what it naturally does is so powerful, and it allows you to connect on such a level that reading doesn't allow, and hearing about it secondhand or third hand from someone isn't as powerful as naturally seeing a picture. So that's why I spend so much time doing the things that I do and telling the stories I tell, because they're so powerful, and it's changed me as a human being who came from a very urban environment to living in wild Florida. Stuff like this has just moved me beyond who I thought I could be, and given me so much compassion and made me fall in love with nature on such a deeper level.
Outstanding. You showed us very briefly your camera trap. Can
You're
I?
on. We can't hear you again, Tim.
How's this?
Perfect.
All right, good. I think I figured it out. You showed us very briefly your camera trap. Could you hold it up to our camera one more time and show us sort of the components of your camera trap?
Oh, so I sent you a picture of what I usually have in one of my camera traps. So that's what's in there. So you have
All
a
right.
camera, full frame Sony camera, two batteries that keep it powered for over a 2 week period of time. And what you're not seeing are the triggers that I usually put out. And what I'll do is, in one of my future articles, I'll include all of the components, and I'm also going to include a link to a video of what my trail camera captured. So when I go into the field, it's something that I call it the camera trap fast, because if you eat anything, you go into the field, then the animals can smell it, and they can come and they can demolish your stuff. So I have some video of a bear family. Yes, Florida does have bears. They have their own endemic species of Florida bears that live in the swamps, and they have such highly sensitive noses that they can smell my breakfast that I ate before I went to the swamp. So I'll include a video of a family of bears destroying one of my camera trap setups because I ate breakfast before I went to the swamp at 7 a.m. And for those of you who don't know, my routine starts, I wake up at about a quarter to 4 in the morning, uh, the day, and I am in the swamps at sunrise. And I'm out of the swamp usually around noon or 1 p.m. and I'm starting to head back home. So my day starts really early. So these are just some of the elements that most people don't consider when they want to get into this kind of work. Your days start early, and I'm in bed 8:30, 9 p.m. the latest. My phone goes into do not disturb mode, and you're not going to hear from me until about 4 a.m.
I'm going to put up, George, a couple more of your pictures of the Everglades and the areas that you work in because it's such a unique environment. And maybe you can tell us, like, why? Why do you start your day so early? Is there a reason why you start so early?
I start that early because number one, the photo you're looking at is of a cypress swamp. So these are trees that are they love water basically. And everything there is just muck, water, mosquitoes, reptiles, bears, gators, panthers, raccoons. And I start that early because for me, I don't like the heat that much, even though I live and work in Florida. And during the dry season and during the summers, it's basically 100 degrees by like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I get into the swamp early in the morning when it's still cool. I'm not going to sweat and lose 10 pounds that day. And I hike to my camera traps. I change everything and I get out because one of the things I've learned is that the animals move between sunset and sunrise. So you'll get most animal movement at that point.
Mm-hmm.
A few animals will move during the day, so you'll get a lot of white-tailed deer that'll move during the day. You'll get bobcats. They like to move back and forth. The bears, when it is bear season, when looking for mates and looking for food, they'll move back and forth during the day. But a lot of the bigger animals, like the panthers, they like to hunt and they like to move at night and after sunset.
All right. I tried to find a good background to make this photo you shared with me really pop because it's one of the most beautiful photos I have ever seen. But this is a photo of the Everglades at night. Can you talk about what it's like at night where you live?
So at night, what you're looking at is basically so when it gets dark in the Everglades, it gets really dark. There are no street lights, there's minimal light pollution. And what you're looking at is the Milky Way over a house in the Everglades that I was camping at because I was doing some work down there. So when I go into the Everglades, I spend more than one day, more than 24 hours. I just go and I'm there for like a week. And I'm camping across the street from this house and I look up and it just wowed me. This photo was also made with my iPhone. This is not with my camera or anything like that. This is me taking out my iPhone, setting myself properly, and making this picture. So, all that to say, this is something that any of you students that are listening now, or instructors or teachers, you could do the same thing. The only difference is I understand light and composition a little bit more than the average person. However, these are not skills that are not learnable. These are not skills that you can acquire also.
Mhm. All right, excellent. Let's move on to another little just preview of the living things around you in the Everglades.
And this is a young whitetail deer, a young buck eating. And because a lot of these animals don't, they're not, they don't have that bad interaction with humans, he's going to continue eating while I'm there. And he is so unbothered because he's hungry. This is early in the morning. This is around, I'll say about 7:30 in the morning. So right after sunrise. he's eating because nobody's trying to hunt him, nobody's trying to shoe him, nobody is trying to chase him away from doing what he's doing. However, if you zoom in on the picture, you'll see that he is looking at me to make sure that I don't make any sudden moves. But this is a young white-tailed deer eating his morning breakfast. So this is always something that it's always endearing to me because prior to moving down here and starting this journey, I had never seen these animals in their natural habitat. I've only seen them on TV and in videos on the internet and in zoos.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'd say even for our friends from Florida who are joining this program and who you'll be meeting in Miami, in the coming days, some of these wildlife encounters even feel far away, even though it's in the same state. You don't have to travel as far as from New York to Florida to find these scenes.
Yes, and for those that I'm going to meet in Miami, I look forward to it. And this actual location is about an hour and a half from Miami. So,
Very good. And we have one last picture, and it's a little hard to see in the size of my screen, but that is you, I presume, in the center of the screen. And I have to
yes.
ask, on behalf of all of our students who are watching, are you ever scared to walk into this environment that's full of reptiles, mosquitoes? Like it seems like there's a dozen things that would love to eat you in this environment. How do you feel when you're going into this? Why does it excite you versus terrify you, for example?
So, number one, all of those animals, they are risk averse. So, they don't want to eat me as much as I don't want to encounter them because I am bigger than most of them. And the mosquito is a, a thousand of like this big compared to me. And they're the only ones that attack me on a constant basis. Everyone else kind of gets out of my way or run away. So the only ones I'm scared and worried about is the level of mosquitoes that are there.
Mhm.
So those are the only guys that scare me. However, it's part of the job. It's part of this dream that I had and the dream that I get to live. So no, I'm never worried about the wild animals. I always what you see, you got I have my earpods in while I'm having this conversation. I'm never dressed like I have never take AirPods or anything into the Everglades because I'm consciously and consistently aware of my surroundings and I'm always on the lookout to of where I step, number one, and number two, where I'm walking because I don't want to intrude on an animal and their children because they're going to do what every parent does. They're going to react and they're going to protect their kids. So that's why I'm never scared.
All right. One more question before we get into sort of a preview of where we're going with this virtual exchange with you over the coming weeks. You talked a little bit about gear. We know you don't bring AirPods. You're listening to your surroundings. It sounds very peaceful, actually. What other gear is essential to your work in the Everglades? Is there any like piece of equipment you would not leave home without besides your camera?
I would not leave home without a long sleeve shirt and long pants, no matter how hot it is, because it's the only thing that will protect the rest of me from the mosquitoes. So that's why I'm always covered head to toe. And number two, the only other thing I would is I'm always have water on me. I always have some water to rehydrate because it gets hot out there, y'all.
Mhm.
It gets really hot. And you know what? For as cool as the swamp is, you don't want to drink that brackish water. You don't know who just did a number one or number two in that water ahead from you.
Well, that puts it in very stark terms. Yes, no, we would not want to drink that water. I am excited over the coming weeks with you to really understand what it takes to capture one of these images that really moves people's imagination. You already have hinted at the fact that it could take 800 plus hours to get a picture of a panther in the Everglades, which is amazing. We look at it and we say, wow, and that's, sometimes don't have the full story behind it. What else are you excited to show and tell young people about over the coming weeks about the Everglades and about your work?
For me, honestly, the ability to just share my point of view and just share the healing power of nature and the things you learn when you take the opportunity to just slow down and look at your environment and really connect with nature. For all you young people that are here, the next time one of you visit a doctor's office or a dentist's office, a dental office, I encourage you to look around. What you'll see are a lot of paintings or photos of nature because nature is naturally pleasing to the human mind. So even you guys seeing me on this screen right now, you see the Spanish moss right here blowing in the wind. It just naturally relaxes you. So just connecting with nature and understanding the value of our natural world and how everything is so connected and the choices that we make as humans impacts everything else. So when you get a chance and you get the opportunity to slow down and really think about the words and the things that we're going to learn over the next few weeks, I really want you to see how it helps you just be a better version of yourself. And that's it. That's my only thing. And I am super happy to share my work. And if it changes your point of view, I'm super blessed and super thankful.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to go on that journey with you. It's been a fabulous kickoff. I'm going to put out a last call for anybody watching. I see you all back there watching. If you have questions for George, you can drop them in now. You can save them for our next live stream. Both are totally fine. But if you have one more question that you'd like to get in today, I'm happy to pass it through on your behalf. Until we get to the one last question, I see one just came in. George, you are participating in Reach the World's Explorer program. You are a National Geographic Explorer. You and I know each other through the Explorers Club. What is an explorer? How do you consider yourself an explorer? I assume yes. What does that mean to you?
It means being able to go out and challenge my own or others' perception of the natural world. That's what it means to me. And I get the opportunity to do that on a daily basis. And this is something I worked hard to, this status of, I worked really hard to achieve, and I don't take it for granted. And I'm super thankful for opportunities like this. And it's taken me all over the world. I've been everywhere from South America to New Zealand to South Africa to Europe to the Arctic Circle. And I'm just a kid from Brooklyn, man, that took a shot, took a dream. So if I can do it, I know you all can do it. So please dream immensely, dream big, go for it. You have nothing to lose because the journey that's ahead of you will be the one of the best adventures you ever live.
Amazing advice. Wonderful advice. I do have one question that came in through chat, George, and we'll make that sort of our closing note here. We have a viewer who has just started exploring the Everglades and Big Cypress themselves. This is,
Nice.
I presume, someone based in Florida. We've got many avid Floridians following us. Are there any key areas or trails that you would suggest for a new visitor to the park to explore to get the full experience of the Everglades? This could possibly be relevant to anyone who travels to Florida too and is interested in investigating this really unique ecosystem.
I would suggest Everglades National Park. It's amazing. It's one of those places that you can see multiple ecosystems in one day. So I would suggest, as a starting point, Everglades National Park. You have also the opportunity to camp there. So if you can encourage your parents to take you out there, and you can get a reservation and camp. However, you don't want to do it during the summer. Take it from me. I've done it during the summer. It's hot and the mosquitoes love you. So the best time to do it is during the winter or in the cooler months of the year. That's what
Mhm.
I would suggest.
All right, great place to start. And we're really just starting this journey with George today. So, George, I appreciate you introducing yourself today, joining us from such a unique location, showing us a preview of a camera trap. We're going to get much more into the camera traps and your photography work and your specific conservation-related storytelling of the Everglades in the weeks to come. But for all of you who joined us today, that is our introduction to George in this Expedition Everglades virtual exchange. We are going to be back weekly for the next couple of weeks to explore new topics with George. Like I said, he's going to be adding articles to his Journey homepage, the link to which is in the chat on the right-hand side of your screen. So make sure you check it out on a regular basis. Lots of stuff coming our way. And like I mentioned to our friends in Miami, there are several in-person events at Miami-Dade Public Libraries coming up in partnership with the Friends of the Miami-Dade Public Library. So there's lots of ways to engage with George, learn from George, go on this virtual exchange adventure with him. And until then, I'm inspired. I'm going to stay curious. I'm going to go investigate something in my own backyard. And we'll catch up with you, George, again very soon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I look forward to interacting with you all in the coming weeks. And for those in Florida, I'll see you guys down in Miami at the end of the month.
Thanks,
Bye.
George. See you again soon.
Thanks, Tim. Bye, guys.